Another really common problem on 9X6 and 9X7.1, so M96 based engines. We can see our car is not running, yet somehow we have oil pressure. So either this is the world's tightest engine, or our oil pressure sending unit or switch, which it's not really a switch, it sends a pressure, not an on-off signal. So that is faulty. This happens all the time. It's still reading, but eventually, so whenever we start the car, we do get like a reading here, but obviously our reading is flawed. What you'll get eventually is it won't get a reading anymore, and it will throw a fault for like whatever these old ones do. I don't remember now. I think it shows the little oil can and says like something about oil pressure or being careful about driving it. I don't remember. It's super basic. But we always want to catch it. All you got to do in 996, 997 cars, just turn your ignition on. Ignition on. You should have zero oil pressure. These will, like this one just moves all over the place. Even if it flickers at the bottom and moves up around that zero, even if it moves around the zero, if it starts to move at all, really, you got a bad sensor there. So we are going to go and replace the sensor on the passenger side valve cover, which would be bank 2. All right, here we are on the outside of our 996 with our faulty oil pressure sending switch or sending unit. So this is the culprit. This is our oil pressure sending unit, and it is located on bank 2 of your 996 and your 997.1. So all Porsche engines that I know of, there may be some obscure one. You find your crankshaft pulley. So our crankshaft pulley is right there. We find our crankshaft pulley. The left bank is always bank 1. The right bank is always bank 2. It makes it easier to figure out when you get in behind like a Cayman or with the 911 with the engine being backwards. Always find your crankshaft pulley. Your left is bank 1. Your right is bank 2 from the crankshaft pulley. So our oil pressure sending switch or unit, I'm sorry, I keep calling it wrong, is up here. So valve cover, coils, oil pressure sending unit sitting up there, screwed into the valve cover from the top. I have already taken the ground off to make it easy on myself. There's a ground here, and there's a coil cover. The coil cover, I take those off just so I can get up there to it easier. There are 2 wires on the top of it. I find it easiest to go from the top of the engine and reach across the backside and just pop those 2 wires off. They do have different size spade connectors, so you can't, I guess if you tried really hard, you can mess it up, but as long as you just match your sizes up, you can only put the wires on one way. So we're gonna swap that out, and then we will check our oil pressure. So I got the old one out, we can see here. So I just wanted to show you guys, so that 102, that's actually 1.02, so this is a 2002 production unit. So we know that this car is an 02 and 03. So this is the original unit in there. We can see on this unit, we got it's hard to see and I can't get it to focus. It's a 6 of 22, so the 2022 production date. All your Porsche parts, if we can get it in here, all your authentic Porsche parts will have your authentic Porsche P with a little triangle for the parts on there. So you always want to look for that. I'm a fanatic about using factory Porsche parts. These are produced by, let's see, this one is VDO, I believe. Yeah, VDO. So from your aftermarket suppliers like Worldpac, you can actually get a VDO oil pressure sending unit, which is literally exactly the same thing. It just does not have the Porsche P on there. So I guess it depends on how fanatical you are. These do have a 2-year, or all Porsche parts have a 2-year unlimited mileage warranty on them. Even with if not installed by a technician, you still get the parts warranty, just not the labor warranty. So you can see too, a 19mm crow's foot is the only thing I have ever been able to find. I can't get a good view on this. That's the only thing I've ever been able to find to be able to get up there into there to get it. It is a little strange also if you want to, so you need to do off is on and on is off whenever you got the crow's foot on there and you're going up. It's the reverse of what it should be. from the top of the engine bay, like I was saying before, the right-hand side, so bank 2, we can see this wiring harness right here. That wiring harness with the 2 spades that are hanging out, that is what plugs into the top of the oil pressure sending unit. So even my big old fat arm, I can reach back in there and just plug them in. Like I said, just make sure your sizes are correct when you're trying to, don't just force it, it'll plop on if it's correct. All right, we can see now our ignition is on, our engine is off. We've got 0 oil pressure, which is exactly what we want. Ignition off, 0. I mean, it moves just a tiny bit. It goes from being nothing at all to being right on the 0. So if you check these and they start going up past the 0 at all, or flickering whenever the car is off, you're starting to have a problem. You don't want them to go all the way to the point where mine was, where it was reading like 2-3 bar of pressure when there's nothing there. Try to catch them when they first start to have an issue. So ignition off, ignition on, moves to the 0, and then we just sit there. I can't start the car, it's torn apart right now for some other things getting done to it, but this is just to show you. Still in a little thing from Cobb. We'll give this a wrench count, and I would give this probably like a 2.5 wrenches. It's not real complicated. Probably anybody with some basic tools and a floor jack and a jack stand can do this in their driveway. It doesn't make a mess, no oil comes out. It's pretty straightforward. So as long as you have some basic understanding of your tools, you're good to go. I'd like to close with so easy anybody can do it, but I've had a bunch of people saying they didn't like that. They like the left hand for high-speed traffic and passing only. So we'll close with that. If you have an opinion on this, feel free to put it in the comments, because I'd like to know.